Good day, everyone. I was just reading through my Bible this morning and I come across this book, Nahum. I've read it, but it hasn't been a while since I've read it. I read the first 3 verses. I'm going to read them out. And it put the fear of God in me again, which is a good thing at times. I think we need it. So it goes like this, first 3 verses. The burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum the Elushite. God is jealous, and the Lord revenges. The Lord revenges and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger, and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind, and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. You see here that it's a burden of Nineveh. He has a burden. He has a burden for his people. And again, I think as born again Christians, we love our people, love our land. We need to have a burden for the lost again. That's my prayer this morning, that I would have a burden again for the lost, a burden for them that don't know Christ. Verse 2 says that God is jealous. The book of Exodus tells us that God is a jealous God. He's jealous for his people. He's jealous for you, Christian. So know this day, God is jealous. Just like a husband would be jealous if somebody was flirting with his wife, or vice versa. God is a jealous God. In that sense, he's jealous for his people. And the Lord revenges. The Lord revenges and is furious. The Lord, he is a furious God. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries. So if you don't know God this day, you're an adversary of God. Because the Bible tells us, choose you this day whom you will serve. You serve the God of the Bible, or will you serve the God of this world? Corinthians tells us that the God of this world has blinded the minds, lest the light of the glorious gospel should shine in. Ultimately, God owns everything, but there is a God of this world, who is Satan, who roams about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. The end of verse 2 says, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The wrath of God is upon his enemies, and he's reserved that. He's holding back, but he can't hold back forever. He can't hold back forever. John 3:36 says this, he that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life, and he that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abideth in him. The wrath of God abides upon you if you don't know God. It says in John 3:36, he that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life, and he that believeth not the Son shall not see life. So the only way to have spiritual life, speaking of spiritual life, is to know the Son of God. Here's Jesus Christ. We know that famous verse in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on him should not perish, go to a lost eternity, but have everlasting life. Jesus died for the whosoever, but you need to believe on the Son, for the wrath of God abides upon you, even at this moment, even as we speak. If you're an enemy of God, the wrath of God abides on you. Verse 3 gives us hope, gives you hope if you don't know Christ. The Lord is slow to anger, great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The wicked won't go unpunished, but he's slow to anger. His arms open wide. He wants you to come to him so he can acquit you of that wickedness. The Bible tells us in John 19, verse 30, that Jesus cried out on the cross, his last words, "It is finished." Paid in full. You just need to accept this. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He's in everything, Christian. He's in the whirlwind, he's in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. So I would urge you this day, as a Christian, rejoice in the fact that you're not under the wrath of God, that you're under the blood. But if you don't know God, if you don't know the Son, the wrath of God abides upon you. The wrath of God abides upon you. Fear God. You see it in these banners. Just a few months ago, fear God and honour the King. We need that fear of God again in this land. We need that fear of God, because he is a God of wrath. He's furious, and he will not acquit the wicked. He will not acquit the wicked. James 4:4 tells us that we are to be lovers of God. You know, if you're an enemy of God, you're a hater of God. Don't be an enemy of God. Don't be an enemy of God. I want to find that scripture in James. I think I've misquoted this. James 4:4 says these words, "Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity or enemy with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God." Christian, this is really speaking to the Christian. Stop being a friend of the world. We got to hate the things of the world, not the people, because they're blinded by the God of this world, but the sin that they're up to. Because if you're a friend of the world, you're an enemy of God. If you're a friend of what the world does, the sin that they partake in, the adultery, we are not to be. Have friendship with the world. You're an enmity. You're against God. You're an enemy of God. Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of God. So it's time to be a friend of God. It's time, if you don't know him, to be a friend of God, to come from the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of light, and to know the Son, whom to know life eternal. God bless.